What's up, everybody? This is Sunko. I'm back again. Today is November 9th, Tuesday, and tonight, I'm going to read a book called The Intelligent Investor. I read only the beginning part of it, and it was interesting because I could look at the life of Benjamin Graham, who is the teacher of Warren Buffett. Mm. And this book uh, is known as like a like a is known as not just like regular book. It's not normal book. It's the book that's been read over and over by Warren Buffett, and Warren Buffett still think it's one of the best books that he has ever read. Anyway, what I wanted to say is that I'm going to read this book after eating dinner. I mean, of course, I had eaten dinner, mm, but then still I have Subway sandwich right here. It's a Subway sandwich that my mom bought when she's off from her work. And the Subway sandwich that I'm going to eat tonight is a meatball sandwich. I love Subway sandwich because it's so delicious and it's so veggie. Whenever you eat a bites, you feel like you're getting healthy, right? Because it's got a lot of fresh veggies in it. Mm, so good, so good. Mm. Look at all the veggies inside: olives, cabbage, cucumber, tomato, pickles, onions. When I was in the States, I eat Subway sandwich at least once a week. 'Cause it was easy to eat, plus store was near my home. So I went by often. Okay, I just finished eating and I'll read a book. Okay? Hmm. The rapid development of conglomerate companies, franchise operations, and other relative novelties in business and finance. These include a number of tricky devices such as letter stock, the proliferation of stock option warrants, misleading names, use of foreign banks, and others. Many of these people got especially carried away on technology internet stocks, believing the high-tech hype that this industry will keep outgrowing every other 4 years to come, if not forever. How much, most painfully of all, by losing their self-control. Just when they needed it the most, these people proved Graham's assertion that the investor's chief problem, and even his worst enemy, is likely to be himself. The sure thing that wasn't. In mid 1990, after earning 100%, 17.3% return in just the first 5 months of the year, Monument Internet Fund portfolio manager Alexander Chong predicted that his fund would gain 50% a year over the next 3 to 5 years, and an annual average of 35% over the next 20 years. Constant losers Q&A 25.8% per year, achieved by the legendary Peter Lynch of Fidelity 2 decades ending December 31st. $10,000 into more than 982,000 in 20 years. Chong was predicting that his fund would turn $10,000 into more than $4 million over the same length of time. Instead of regarding Chong as ridiculously over-optimistic, investors drew. After his Amando Technology Fund rose an incredible 248.9%. Arborville ridiculed anyone who dared to doubt. Internet was a perpetual money-making machine. If you're out of this sector, you're going to underperform. You are in a horse and buggy, and I'm in a Porsche. You don't like tenfold growth opportunities, then go with someone else. In February 2000, hedge fund manager James J. Cramer proclaimed that internet-related companies are the only ones worth owning right now. These winners of the new world, as he called them, are the only ones that are going higher consistently in good days and bad. Cramer even took a posh shot at Graham. You have to throw out all of the matrices and formulas and texts that existed before the web. If we used any of what Graham Dodd teaches, we wouldn't have a dime under management. All these so-called experts ignored Graham's sober words of warning. Obvious prospects for fiscal growth in a business do not translate into obvious profits for investors. While it seems easy to foresee which industry will grow the fastest, that foresight has no real value if most other investors are already expecting the same thing. By the time everyone decides that a given industry is obviously the best money at him, flinging more than $100 million into his fund over the next year, a $10,000 investment in the Monument Internet Fund in May 1999 would have shrunk to roughly $2,000 by year end 2002. The Monument Fund no longer exists in its original form and is now known as Orbitech's Emerging Technology Fund. Worst destructions of wealth in the history of the mutual fund history. Did not go higher consistently in good days and bad. By year end 2002, one of the 10 had already gone bankrupt. Equally close Cramer's picks would have lost 94%, leaving you with a grand total of when the worst come. The prices of its stocks have been beat up so high that its future returns have nowhere to go but down. For now, at least, no one has the gall to try claiming the technology will still be the world's greatest growth industry. But make sure you remember this: the people who now claim that the next sure thing will be healthcare, or energy, or real estate, or gold are no more likely to be right in the end than the hipsters of high tech turned out to be. If no price seemed too high for stocks in the 1990s, in 2003 we've reached a point at which no price appears to be low enough. The pendulum has swung, as Graham knew it always does, from irrational exuberance to unjustifiable pessimism. In 2002, investors yanked $27 billion out of stock mutual funds. In a survey conducted by the Securities Industry Association found that 1 out of 10 investors had cut back on stocks by at least 25%. The same people who were eager to buy stocks in the late 1990s, when they were going up in price and therefore becoming expensive, sold stocks as they went down in price and by definition became cheaper. As Graham shows so brilliantly in Chapter 8, this is exactly backwards. The intelligent investor realizes that stocks become more risky as their prices rise, and less risky, not more, as their prices fall. The intelligent investor dreads a bull market, since it makes stocks more costly to buy, and conversely, so long as you keep enough cash on hand to meet your spending needs, you should welcome a bear market, since it puts stock back on sale. You should welcome a bear market, since it puts stock back on sale. So take her, the death of the bull market is not the bad news everyone believes it to be. Thanks to a decline in stock prices, now is a considerably safer and saner time to be building wealth. Read on and let Graham show you how. The only exception to this rule is an investor in the advanced stage of retirement who may not be able to outlast the long bear markets. Yet, even an elderly investor should not sell her stocks merely because they have gone down in price. The approach not only turns her paper losses into real ones, but deprives her heirs of the potential to inherit those stocks at lower cost for tax purposes. Chapter 1: Investment versus Speculation. Results to be expected by the intelligent investor. This chapter will outline the viewpoints that will be set forth in the remainder of the book. In particular, we wish to develop at the outset our concept of appropriate portfolio policy for the individual, non professional investor. Investment versus speculation. What do we mean by investor? Throughout this book, the term will be used in contradistinction to speculator. As far back as 1934, in our textbook Security Analysis, we attempted a precise formulation of the difference between the two as follows: an investment operation is one which, upon thorough analysis, promises safety of principal and an adequate return. Operations not meeting these requirements are speculative. An investment operation is one which, upon rough analysis, promises safety of principal and an adequate return. Operations not meeting these requirements are speculative. While we have clung tenaciously to this definition over the ensuing 38 years, it is worthwhile noting the radical changes that have occurred in the use of the term investor during this period. After the great market decline of 1929, 1932, all common stocks were widely regarded as speculative by nature. Thus, we had then to defend our definition against the charge they gave too wide scope to the concept of investment. Now, our concern is of the opposite sort. We must prevent our readers from accepting the common jargon, which applies the term investor to anybody and everybody in the stock market. In our last edition, we cited the following headline of a front page article of our leading financial journal in June. The same journal had an editorial critical of what it called reckless investors, who this time were rushing in on the buying side. These quotations will illustrate the confusion that has been dominant for many years in the use of the words investment and speculation. Think of our suggested definition of investment given above and compare it with the sale of a few shares of stock by an inexperienced member of the public who does not even own what he is selling and has some largely emotional conviction that he will be able to buy them back at a much lower price. In a more general sense, the later used the phrase reckless investors could be regarded as a laughable contradiction in terms something like spendthrift measures, were this misuse of language not so mischievous. The newspaper employed the word investor in these instances because, in the easy language of Wall Street, everyone who buys or sells a security has become an investor, regardless of what he buys or for what purpose or at what price, or whether for cash or on margin. Compare this with the attitude of the public toward common stocks in 1948, when over 90% of those quoted expressed themselves as opposed to the purchase of common stocks. About half gave as their reason not safe, a gamble, and about half the reason not familiar with. It is indeed ironical. People will ask, suppose a man decides not to spend his money, he can either put it in a bank or in bonds, or he can invest it. What do you think would be the wisest thing for him to do with the money nowadays? Put it in the bank by saving bonds with it, invest in real estate, or buy common stock with it? Only 4% thought common stock would offer satisfactory return. 26% considered it not safe or a gamble. From 1949 through 1958, the stock market earned one of its highest 10-year return in history. That common stock purchases of all kinds were quite generally regarded as highly speculative or risky at a time when they were selling on the most attractive basis, and due soon to begin their greatest advance in history. Conversely, the very fact they had advanced to what were undoubtedly dangerous levels, as judged by past experience, later transformed them into investments, and the entire stock buying public into investors. The distinction between investments and speculation in common stocks has always been a useful one, and its disappearance is a cause for concern. We have often said that Wall Street as an institution would be well advised to reinstate distinction and to emphasize it in all its dealings with the public. Otherwise, the stock exchanges may someday be blamed for heavy speculative losses, which those who suffer them had not been properly warned against. Ironically, once more, much of the recent financial embarrassment of some stock exchange firms seem to have come from the inclusion of speculative common stocks in their own capital funds. We trust that the reader of this book will gain a reasonably clear idea of the risks that are inherent in common stock commitments, risks which are inseparable from the opportunities of profits that they offer, and both of which must be allowed for in the investor's calculations. Oh. Oh, I'm surprised that two people are watching right now. All I did was reading a book. Why would you watch it? Why would you watch me reading a book? A book that I'm currently reading is called uh, The Intelligent Investor, written by Benjamin Graham. Benjamin Graham is the person who is known as the teacher of Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett says it's one of the best books that he has ever read. Um, it's quite a long book. I mean, its page is 643 pages, but then I decided to give it a shot because it's worth reading it. I mean, obviously, the best investor who is like in this word, in this how could I say, uh, in this era, Warren Buffett is known as the most intelligent investor, and he says it's the book. This book, The Intelligent Investor, has influenced him the most. So I thought if I read this book over and over, then I could, you know, understand what he thinks, and also I'll be able to think like he thinks at the end. So uh, I know the first time I read this book, I'll be able to understand 30% or less than 30%. But then if I read this over and over, for example, like from the very beginning to the very end, and then going back to the beginning, and if I repeat this cycle, then someday I'll be able to understand 70% or more than 80%, I guess. Uh, yeah. Hmm. It looks like potatoes on top of soft corn. Oh. Oh, yeah, indeed. Oh, yeah, I look like potato. Oh. Anyway, there are a few people here tonight. Anyway, I'm going to finish, and I'll see you tomorrow. Hmm. Uh, I feel like I should spend more time reading a book because 25 minutes is still short time for me to, understand the contents. It's too short, like literally. Hmm. Anyway, I'll see you tomorrow, and good night.